The Babylonians, architects of ancient Mesopotamia's grandeur. Introduction. The Babylonians, a remarkable ancient civilization that thrived in the heart of Mesopotamia, Babylonia was an ancient Akkadian-speaking state and cultural area based in the city of Babylon in central southern Mesopotamia, present-day Iraq and parts of Syria. It emerged as an Amorite-ruled state c. 1894 BC. During the reign of Hammurabi and afterwards, Babylonia was called the country of Akkad, Matakadi in Akkadian, a deliberate archaism in reference to the previous glory of the Akkadian Empire. It was often involved in rivalry with the older ethno-linguistically related state of Assyria in the north of Mesopotamia and Elam to the east in ancient Iran. Babylonia briefly became the major power in the region after Hammurabi, FL circa 1792 to 1752 BC Middle Chronology, or circa 1696 to 1654 BC, Short Chronology, created a short-lived empire, succeeding the earlier Akkadian Empire, 3rd dynasty of Ur, and Old Assyrian Empire. The Babylonian Empire rapidly fell apart after the death of Hammurabi and reverted to a small kingdom centered around the city of Babylon. Like Assyria, the Babylonian state retained the written Akkadian language, the language of its native populace, for official use, despite its northwest Semitic-speaking Amorite founders and Kassite successors, who spoke a language isolate, not being native Mesopotamians. It retained the Sumerian language for religious use, as did Assyria, which also shared the same Mesopotamian religion as Babylonia, but already by the time Babylon was founded, this was no longer a spoken language, having been wholly subsumed by Akkadian. The earlier Akkadian and Sumerian traditions played a major role in the descendant Babylonian and Assyrian culture, and the region would remain an important cultural center, even under its protracted periods of outside rule. Present-day Iraq, from the 18th to the 6th centuries BCE. Emerging around 1894 BCE and enduring for over a millennium, they are celebrated for their contributions to art, mathematics, astronomy, and law. The Babylonians built a mighty empire under the rule of Hammurabi, who introduced one of the world's earliest legal codes, known as the Code of Hammurabi. They excelled in astronomy and developed a sophisticated system of mathematics, including the concept of zero. The Babylonians also constructed impressive architectural wonders, such as the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Their rich cultural heritage and advancements continue to inspire and influence civilizations to this day. This article delves into the fascinating world of the Babylonians, exploring their history, culture, achievements, and enduring legacy. History. Pre-Babylonian Sumero-Akkadian period. Mesopotamia had already enjoyed a long history prior to the emergence of Babylon, with Sumerian civilization emerging in the region c. 5400 BC, and the Akkadian-speaking Semitic people who would go on to form Akkad, Assyria and Babylonia appearing somewhere between the 35th and 30th century BC. During the 3rd millennium BC, an intimate cultural symbiosis occurred between Sumerian and Akkadian speakers, which included widespread bilingualism. The influence of Sumerian on Akkadian and vice versa is evident in all areas, from lexical borrowing on a massive scale, to syntactic, morphological, and phonological convergence. This has prompted scholars to refer to Sumerian and Akkadian in the 3rd millennium as a sprachbund. Akkadian gradually replaced Sumerian as the spoken language of Mesopotamia somewhere around the turn of the 3rd and the 2nd millennium BC, the precise timeframe being a matter of debate. From c. 5400 BC until the rise of the Akkadian Empire in the 24th century BC, Mesopotamia had been dominated by largely Sumerian cities and city-states, such as Ur, Lagash, Uruk, Kish, Isin, Larsa, Adab, Eridu, Geser, Assur, Hamatsi, Akshak, Arbela and Umma. Although Semitic Akkadian names began to appear on the king lists of some of these states, such as Ashnuna and Assyria, between the 29th and 25th centuries BC. Traditionally, the major religious center of all Mesopotamia was the city of Nippur, where the god Enlil was supreme, and it would remain so until replaced by Babylon during the reign of Hammurabi in the mid-18th century BC. The Akkadian Empire, 2334 to 2154 BC, saw the Akkadian Semites and Sumerians of Mesopotamia unite under one rule, and the Akkadians fully attain ascendancy over the Sumerians and indeed come to dominate much of the ancient Near East. The empire eventually disintegrated due to economic decline, climate change, and civil war, followed by attacks by the language isolate-speaking Gutians from the Zagros Mountains to the northeast. Sumer rose up again with the third dynasty of Ur, Neo-Sumerian Empire, in the late 22nd century BC, and ejected the Gutians from southern Mesopotamia in 2161 BC as suggested by surviving tablets and astronomy simulations. They also seem to have gained ascendancy over much of the territory of the Akkadian-speaking kings of Assyria in northern Mesopotamia for a time, followed by the collapse of the Sumerian Ur-III dynasty at the hands of the Elamites in 2002 BC. The Amorites, Westerners, a foreign northwest Semitic-speaking people, began to migrate into southern Mesopotamia from the northern Levant, gradually gaining control over most of southern Mesopotamia, where they formed a series of small kingdoms, while the Assyrians reasserted their independence in the north. The states of the south were unable to stem the Amorite advance, and for a time may have relied on their fellow Akkadians in Assyria for protection. First Babylonian dynasty, Amorite dynasty, 1894 to 1595 BC. Around 1894 BC, an Amorite chieftain named Sumuabum appropriated a tract of land which included the then relatively small city of Babylon from the neighboring minor city-state of Kazallu, of which it had initially been a territory, turning his newly acquired lands into a state in its own right. His reign was concerned with establishing statehood amongst a sea of other minor city-states and kingdoms in the region. However, Sumuabum appears never to have bothered to give himself the title of King of Babylon, suggesting that Babylon itself was still only a minor town or city, and not worthy of kingship. He was followed by Sumulael, Sabium, and Apelsin, each of whom ruled in the same vague manner as Sumuabum, with no reference to kingship of Babylon itself being made in any written records of the time. Sinmuballit was the first of these Amorite rulers to be regarded officially as a king of Babylon, and then on only one single clay tablet. Under these kings, Babylonia remained a small nation which controlled very little territory, and was overshadowed by neighboring kingdoms that were both older, larger, and more powerful, such as Isin, Larsa, Assyria to the north and Elam to the east in ancient Iran. The Elamites occupied huge swathes of southern Mesopotamia, and the early Amorite rulers were largely held in vassalage to Elam. Historical background. Geographic location. The Babylonians were centered in the region of southern Mesopotamia, in what is now modern-day Iraq. The city of Babylon, their capital, was strategically located on the banks of the Euphrates River, making it a hub of trade and culture. 1894 BCE. The rise of Babylon. The Babylonians emerged as a powerful city-state in Mesopotamia, located in present-day Iraq. They built their capital city, Babylon, on the banks of the Euphrates River. The earliest known ruler of Babylon was Sumuabum, who established the first dynasty of Babylon. 1792 BCE, 1750 BCE. Hammurabi's rule. The Babylonian civilization emerged from the earlier Akkadian and Sumerian cultures. The first Babylonian dynasty, known as the Old Babylonian Empire, was established by King Hammurabi around 1792 BCE. Hammurabi, the sixth king of the first Babylonian dynasty, ascended to the throne. He is best known for his codification of laws, known as the Code of Hammurabi. This legal code was engraved on a stele and included laws regarding various aspects of life, such as property rights, trade, and social order. Hammurabi's rule marked a period of significant cultural and political development in Babylon. Achievements and contributions. Code of Hammurabi. Hammurabi's code is one of the most famous legal codes in history, consisting of 282 laws that governed various aspects of Babylonian society. It emphasized the principles of justice, fairness, and accountability, laying the foundation for modern legal systems. Mathematics and astronomy. Babylonians made significant advancements in mathematics, including the development of the base, 60 system and early algebraic concepts. They were adept astronomers, recording celestial observations and creating accurate lunar calendars. Architecture and engineering. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, is a testament to their architectural prowess. Babylonians built ziggurats, massive temple towers with intricate designs, to honor their gods. Cuneiform writing. Babylonians used cuneiform script, a wedge-shaped writing system, to record their literature, laws, and administrative documents. The preservation of these clay tablets has provided valuable insights into their culture and society. Religion. The Babylonians practiced polytheism, worshipping a pantheon of gods and goddesses, with Marduk as their chief deity. Temples played a central role in their religious life, serving as centers of worship and administrative hubs. Art and literature. Babylonian art featured intricate pottery, jewelry, and cylinder seals often depicting mythological and religious themes. Their literature included epic poems like the Epic of Gilgamesh, a foundational work of world literature. Daily life. Babylonian society was stratified, with distinct social classes, including rulers, priests, and commoners. Agriculture and trade were vital to their economy, with farmers cultivating crops in the fertile Mesopotamian plains. Kassite dynasty, 1595 to 1155 BC. The extent of the Babylonian Empire during the Kassite dynasty. The Kassite dynasty was founded by Gondash of Mari. The Kassites, like the Amorite rulers who had preceded them, were not originally native to Mesopotamia. Rather, they had first appeared in the Zagros Mountains of what is today northwestern Iran. The ethnic affiliation of the Kassites is unclear. Still, their language was not Semitic or Indo-European, and is thought to have been either a language isolate or possibly related to the Hurro-Urartian language family of Anatolia, although the evidence for its genetic affiliation is meager due to the scarcity of extant texts. That said, several Kassite leaders may have borne Indo-European names, and they may have had an Indo-European elite similar to the Mitanni elite that later ruled over the Hurrians of central and eastern Anatolia, while others had Semitic names. The Kassites renamed Babylon Cardunias and their rule lasted for 576 years, the longest dynasty in Babylonian history. This new foreign dominion offers a striking analogy to the roughly contemporary rule of the Semitic Hyksos in ancient Egypt. Most divine attributes ascribed to the Amorite kings of Babylonia disappeared at this time. The title, God, was never given to a Kassite sovereign. Babylon continued to be the capital of the kingdom and one of the holy cities of Western Asia, where the priests of the ancient Mesopotamian religion were all-powerful, and the only place where the right to inheritance of the short-lived Old Babylonian Empire could be conferred. Early Iron Age, native rule, Second Dynasty of Isin, 1155 to 1026 BC. The Elamites did not remain in control of Babylonia long, instead entering into an ultimately unsuccessful war with Assyria, allowing Marduk-Kabadaheshu, 1155 to 1139 BC, to establish the Dynasty IV of Babylon, from Isin, with the very first native Akkadian-speaking South Mesopotamian dynasty to rule Babylonia, with Marduk-Kabadaheshu becoming only the second native Mesopotamian to sit on the throne of Babylon, after the Assyrian king Tukulti-Ninurta I. His dynasty was to remain in power for some 125 years. The new king successfully drove out the Elamites and prevented any possible Kassite revival. Later in his reign he went to war with Assyria, and had some initial success, briefly capturing the South Assyrian city of Ekallatum before ultimately suffering defeat at the hands of Ashur-dan I. Marduk-Balatu succeeded his father in 1138 BC, and successfully repelled Elamite attacks on Babylonia during his 8-year reign. He too made attempts to attack Assyria, but also met with failure at the hands of the still reigning Ashur-dan I. Ninurta-Nadin-Shumi took the throne in 1137 BC, and also attempted an invasion of Assyria. His army seemed to have skirted through eastern Aramea, modern Syria, and then made an attempt to attack the Assyrian city of Arbela, modern Erbil, from the west. However, this bold move met with defeat at the hands of Ashur-resh-ishi I, who then forced a treaty in his favor upon the Babylonian king. Nebuchadnezzar I, 1124 to 1103 BC, was the most famous ruler of this dynasty. He fought and defeated the Elamites and drove them from Babylonian territory, invading Elam itself, sacking the Elamite capital Susa, and recovering the sacred statue of Marduk that had been carried off from Babylon during the fall of the Kassites. Shortly afterwards, the king of Elam was assassinated and his kingdom disintegrated into civil war. However, Nebuchadnezzar failed to extend Babylonian territory further, being defeated a number of times by Ashur-resh-ishi I, 1133 to 1115 BC, king of the Middle Assyrian Empire, for control of formerly Hittite-controlled territories in Aram and Anatolia. The Hittite Empire of the northern and western Levant and eastern Anatolia had been largely annexed by the Middle Assyrian Empire, and its heartland finally overrun by invading Phrygians from the Balkans. In the later years of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar I devoted himself to peaceful building projects and securing Babylonia's borders against the Assyrians, Elamites and Arameans. Fall of Babylon. 1595 BCE, 1155 BCE. Babylonian Empire. Under the rule of Hammurabi's successors, the Babylonian Empire expanded its territory and influence. The empire reached its height during the reign of King Nebuchadnezzar II in the 6th century BCE. Nebuchadnezzar II is known for his extensive building projects, including the construction of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The Babylonian Empire was an important center of trade, art, and literature during this time. 331 BCE. Alexander the Great and Babylon. Alexander the Great, the Macedonian conqueror, captured Babylon and incorporated it into his empire. He admired the city's rich history and culture, and sought to preserve its heritage. However, with the decline of the Seleucid dynasty, which succeeded Alexander's empire, Babylon gradually lost its prominence and fell into ruins. 539 BCE. Fall of Babylon. The Babylonian Empire was conquered by the Persian king Cyrus the Great. The fall of Babylon marked the end of the independent Babylonian state and the beginning of Persian rule in the region. Despite the loss of political autonomy, Babylon continued to be an important cultural and commercial center for centuries to come. The Babylonian Empire faced several periods of decline and conquest, including invasions by the Hittites and Kassites. The Neo-Babylonian Empire, under King Nebuchadnezzar II, enjoyed a brief resurgence but ultimately fell to the Persians in 539 BCE. 1975 CE. Excavation and rediscovery of Babylon. The German archaeologist Robert Koldewey began excavations at Babylon, uncovering the remains of the ancient city. These excavations provided valuable insights into the architecture, urban planning, and daily life of the Babylonians. The ruins of Babylon continue to be an important archaeological site, attracting scholars and tourists from around the world. Legacy. The Babylonians left an enduring legacy in law, mathematics, and astronomy, which influenced subsequent civilizations. Their cultural and architectural achievements continue to capture the imagination of people worldwide. Conclusion. The Babylonians were a remarkable civilization that thrived in ancient Mesopotamia, leaving behind a rich legacy of legal, mathematical, and architectural achievements. From Hammurabi's Code to the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, their contributions to human civilization continue to be celebrated and studied, reminding us of the enduring power of knowledge and culture in shaping our world.